Okay, now we're going to add the accent strip to the centerpiece. So at this point, I kind of know how I'm going to I have a layout in mind, or you can just randomly pull your fabrics. But you really don't want the center to be the same as the outside arcs. So we'll take those away. These are the outside arcs we're going to attach. If you really want to be crazy, these don't even have to match. But we said on the pattern to maybe avoid directional prints. So it's really up to you how directional they are and how much it will bother you. So this is a directional print, my arcs here, and you can see these diamonds are along this way and these are along this way. This does not bother me a bit because it's pretty small. And in general, the quilt's kind of busy depending upon your prints. The other thing you can do if you have something like this and this does bother you, well, you have half blocks to go around the border, so you can cut this block across the center, and then these two pieces are going to go in different locations. So then it shouldn't bother you, hopefully. All right, so we're going to add the accent strip to this. So the first thing you're going to do is take your accent strip, and again, I just leave mine long. And I'm going to cut this end off. I need spray. And we are going to pre-form this curve so it lies down nice and flat before we even start. So, and notice I just have this all in one length. Again, you could cut it to 13 inches first if you want. And use a flatter spray or use water. I would not use starch at this point because it's just going to start making it too heavy and too crispy. You can do that at the end if you want, but for now I try to stick with something a little lighter. And I go ahead and lightly spray both sides. And I'll start here and make sure this is trimmed off. If it's not trimmed off, say you have a piece like this, just make sure you have full coverage here, if that makes sense. Okay, so I start over here, and you can have this, it doesn't have to be perfectly lined up, it can be over a little bit. And I tug pretty hard on that cut edge because you want this bias to move. And if this goes a little off here, it doesn't bother me because it's going to be off by maybe a little bit in the end. I don't think it's very noticeable, and I just put a crease in there. All right, so that's laying fairly well, except down here I think I wanted to get a little more curved. And then let me iron my crease out here. Yeah. Okay. And Jennifer brought me pins. That's so cute.
I was trying to be stealthy, and you blew my cover.
I'm going to iron this just a little bit more. I want it as flat as possible. You'll have another opportunity to get it flat, though, once it's ironed, once it's basted on. I go ahead and trim this off. So that's how I feel like I'm being frugal.
So you're not 100% perfect on the trimming on the sides yet?
No. I'll
just
save that for later, just to get it out of the way.
Okay.
Get my piece here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to baste just 1/8 inch in. I don't bother to pin at this point, but you could.
I'm a pinner.
I'm lazy.
I don't know. I've just always been a pinner.
Yeah.
Personal preference.
And I'm going to go ahead and do this side as well while we're sitting here. So the cut edge goes to the cut edge. So again, I'm just going to cut this off. Didn't do quite as good of a job on that. Let's spray this a little bit. I'll move this down where I can get to it a little better. And if for some reason, if you find after you piece it that this edge comes a little on your fabric, like maybe it's like that, don't worry about it. You're going to trim that off next step anyway, or in a couple steps. All right, so I'm going to place that down. Get my iron. And I'm sorry, I do iron left-handed. And again, just pull your bias. Enjoy the one time you get to, you know, manhandle your bias.
Yeah, so if this is the first time you're working with bias, this is not necessarily normal.
Right. Usually we try to be very careful with bias. We're gonna zigzag down the accent strip on the folded side. Normally I would have a monofilament thread in the top. I'm just leaving cotton in so you can see it. And then I have cotton thread in the bobbin. You could use a matching thread on top if you didn't want to use monofilament. And I'm still, I cannot estimate this. Okay, there we go. It's weird when you're using someone else's machine.
And are you using any kind of stabilizer?
I am not using a stabilizer.
So you're just going slow and shifting as necessary?
Yeah, the curve's pretty wide, so or not slow. So what happens when you aren't using your own machine? So yeah, I just pull this down. Jennifer, I cannot use your machine.
It takes practice.
Okay, so the first side I did the zigzag, and for that I used a 1.5 length and 1.5 width. Use whatever you like. This one I'm going to do a top stitch, so a 0 width with a 2.5 length, and I'm just going to try to stay to the edge. And again, I haven't had any problems. I don't feel like I need a stabilizer or anything.
Well, and I like the top stitch, straight stitch, because it goes a little faster. And I don't know, it's just nice. Don't get to top stitching quilting very often.
That's true, that's true. And you can use a matching thread if you're really confident about your top stitching. You could use a thicker contrasting thread too, if you were, really want to get fancy. I feel like this is bunching up again. Again, I think this is bunching up because of the thickness of this foot. So walking foot would alleviate that. Or my foot at home is a lot smaller. Use your own machine. That's always helpful, so you know what you're doing.
So what I'm hearing is make a sample block before you cut into your good fabrics.
That's always a good idea. Okay.